Hey guys, we have Cloud9 versus TSM. This was probably the most hyped matchup of the week, and also a very important game for both teams, as there used to be a clear top 4, but with FlyQuest kind of dropping the ball, there's now only a clear top 3, and any kind of edge either team can get on the other team and try to bump their standings up and compete with TL for being the best in the league is a welcome opportunity. I think both teams are looking better and better. There are some problems with both teams I'll discuss. A problem with TSM, a little bit of over-reliance on Sejuani, and some early game mistakes. Even though overall as a team, they have good early game stats, their 2v2 between Broken Blade and Acadian hasn't been the best versus certain top laners and other top jungle duos. And also Zben and Smoothie have made uncharacteristic lane mistakes, so I would really like to see TSM shore up their early game and also make sure their late game and how they close out their games are really clean, because they are still one of the teams with the longest game times despite them being so high up in the league. As for Cloud9, I only have a lot of positive things to say. If I do have to point out a few weaknesses, sometimes their early game laning and mistake proneness from bot lane can be problematic. Also, Niski wasn't fitting in that great at the start, but now he's fitting in really well. They just been doing a good job of shoring up their problems. Not saying C9's perfect, but they do have less very clear outlying mistakes or weaknesses than other teams in the region. So let's start the pick and ban. Oh, let's mute and start the pick and ban. Let's see. Fresh Irelia ban from Cloud9. TSM banning Silas Jace. Looks like targeting a lot of the flex picks. C9 banning out Israel because they're not going to first pick Israel and they don't want TSM to have it. And let's see what TSM bans. And then bans out Lucian. So the last really strong flex pick that's left, Cassiopeia, C9 first picking it. Flexible and top mid AD, can go anywhere. TSM replying with Varus and Kench. That's something they actually did a lot last season and carrying over to this season. Varus and Kench, good in team fight. Pretty decent in 1-3-1. It's just a very flexible backbone to build your comp off of. Cloud9 locking in Galio. I'm pretty sure they're going to lock in something like a Jarvan afterwards. Galio, melee support that can help you with the push. That can also synergize very well with Galio to try to get 1-3-1 or try to get engages going. I'm very surprised about this Kindred pick, and I'm pretty curious why it wasn't a Galio, because you already have or why it wasn't a Jarvan, because you already have a Galio that pairs really nicely with a Jarvan, but you took a Kindred instead. Like, you're taking backline instead of taking a melee engager and a tank and a frontline, which is something you probably want with Cassio. So pretty questionable pick there in my opinion. Kindred, I'm not sure how it's gonna pick it. I'm not sure how it's gonna fit into the comp, how it's gonna function. But yeah, the Galio or the Kindred pick over the Jarvan pick there is pretty interesting for me. TSM banning out Zillion. These teams scrim each other a lot, so they know each other better than they know a lot of the other teams. So I'm questioning some of the bans, but I'm just gonna take their expertise on it. I'm gonna guess Zillion and Ribbon and Jax for core picks for TSM and Cloud9 in their scrims. TSM going Gragas. Okay, now they have a decent amount of engage from Varus, from Gragas. They have good backline from Zoe and Varus. Pretty well balanced team fight comp, and a pretty well balanced 1-3-1 comp potentially. And then C9 actually locking in Aatrox, or blinding Aatrox even. Yeah, because Aatrox can't go jungle, and Aatrox definitely won't be going mid versus a Zoe, so that's a blind Aatrox top. And TSM counterpicking with a Nico. So I watched a little bit of this game at LCS, but not too much in detail. I was so surprised by the Nico top. Yeah, I know how Nico functions as a champion. We just don't see her pretty much ever in competitive play. So very surprised to see TSM pick it. So let's talk. If you talk about both comps and what they want to accomplish and what they do, TSM comp is about poke. They have a Zoe, they have a Varus, they want to poke out C9 and make sure they can get them chunked and get them damaged before C9 even ever gets on top of them. And they want to kind of prevent fights. Because they have Tom Kent and Nico, even if they do, and a Gragas, even if they do get engaged on, they have a lot of peel tools. So that's how TSM comp wants to function. Poke from a distance, land a lot of pokes, and play around objectives. On the other hand, for C9 comp, they can try to split with Aatrox. That's one way they can play it, but they also have a lot of team fighting tools, and they have a very strong backline with Kindred, with Victor, with Cassio. They just have so much backline. So they're going to be more of a backline ball comp versus TSM's poke comp. And a lot of times the backline ball teamfight comp, when they don't have good engage tools, which they don't versus TSM, I think this Kindred pick was super questionable, and I would have loved to see J4 instead. It makes it so that C9 comp is going to have a hard time engaging onto TSM later, and they're going to have to do a really good job finding the kind of engages. I'm paraphrasing what Reaper said, but he didn't want to go full engage into Tom Kent, so he went for a teamfight comp with Aatrox flank. He said Sneaky should have went cleanse and flash Cassio ulted. Well, that's actually another good way to play it. Sneaky going cleanse and looking for flash Cassio ult. But flash Cassio ult and Aatrox flanks aren't the most guaranteed way of engaging or playing out fights. It's a very high difficulty way of playing out a teamfight comp. If C9 is confident with it, I mean, more power to them, but I will say there's easier comps you can draft and there's easier things you can do. I'm super curious about the Kindred pick though. Kindred is great when the enemy team has to come into you. That's where she functions the best. But when the enemy team isn't really forced to come into you, Kindred is not the best jungler. So I'm very curious why they pick Kindred. Also, Sneaky taking an early reset for tier. Very typical if you're playing a tier champion like a Israel or a Cassio or a Ryze. Reaper said he wants to practice a comp that is more free and doesn't have one job like TSM's comp, for example. Okay, I mean, long as they know like this isn't the best comp, and that's kind of strange though that they're playing a comp for just because it's more free and they want to have more freedom on stage, and that's a little bit more flexible. Yeah. I would have much liked to see in J4. I think J4 rounds out the comp really well. I'll ask Reaper about it whenever we do it later. This Zoe pick though. Good in lane for sure. Good in lane, harassing out the Aatrox. They're looking for a die, but Licorice ulted. If Licorice doesn't die here, like, so a thing about Aatrox ult is after you use Aatrox ult, if you don't die, then yeah, you just return to your normal form without you return to your normal form without whatchamacallit, HP, so you become vulnerable. So after you use your ult and they don't dive you, then you have to reset. TSM got so much plating there. They got 3 plating topside. A lot of gold for Acadian. A lot of gold for Broken Blade. Finishing his proto belt already. If he got hit by that, because he doesn't have his ult up, would have been really dangerous. Damn. So it seems like a lot of Reaper's reasoning is for us to improve and for us to do better, we need to be able to play these kind of comps, and we're doing that versus our strongest opponent. That is such a fucking, I would say, like a brave mentality, and that's such a that's not an easy mentality to have. So I know Reaper can troll a lot, and I'm not sure how trolly he is about that, but still, that's such a, I would say a really, yeah, it's a really brave and a really tough mentality to have. So we can talk about this. So Licorice, Sven both going on Broken Blade. They actually hit the right target, but Broken Blade getting the flash off and getting the good root, so he lives. If Svenskar and Flash Auto, they actually would have killed Broken Blade. But Acadian coming in, able to ult Licorice. Missed his ult though. Licorice running away. Svenskaren got his ult off. Bjergsen charging his Q and hit Licorice right as the ult ended. Beautiful timing and really good job from Bjerg. C9 not a slouch though, because Kench went top to make that play. They're pressuring bot much as possible. Oh, that's a lot of damage you took there, Sneakers. They're kind of have to reset. Sneaky kind of low. Oops, why am I? And TSM getting first turret top. Now they're going to be able to reset. Put Bjergsen back mid. Really good job on abusing Nico versus the Aatrox matchup. So one thing that I feel like teams struggle a lot with is picking a range matchup or picking an abusive matchup and getting the most out of it. But this is an instant where a team picked the range matchup and they're actually getting the most out of it, where they're setting up plays and they are able to take turret on the enemy team. TSM actually has so much control from getting that turret top side. They're going to be able to take Herald pretty easily too. Dragon also. Cause look at just how much priority Broken Blade has on Licorice. He should be able to move down first. He should be able to contest blue first. There's just a lot of things that Broken Blade can do due to the amount of control he has on top of Licorice. TSM taking Dragon. They should be playing for Herald also. Earthdrake feels hella good. Yeah. It's going to take a lot for C9 to actually be able to come back and catch TSM in a team fight. They have to be very patient and set up for a good objective fight. They have to be very patient. If they're impatient about things and they're chucking into TSM when they don't have a good status for items, or they just cannot be impatient about things. If they check into TSM when TSM's this ahead and C9 has this little control, the game can go really badly. Yeah, they're losing mid side, they're losing top side, they're just losing pretty much every side of the map except for bot lane. So they have to be incredibly patient. Let's see if C9 is actually able to manage. Because a lot of problems that NA teams have and teams just have in general is they don't like being in losing situations. And whenever they are in losing situations, they'll overplay due to them being in losing situations. They'll be like, oh, I'm in a losing situation. I need to do more for my team. Oh, we're in a losing situation. I'm going to need to make a big outplay. Oh, I don't like being in this losing situation. Let's get a fight right away. They have to be very, very patient. Okay, starting on Gragas. Good to see. C9 actually the one in control and forcing TSM into them at the moment. Sneaky in the awkward spot, gets caught and dies. Now TSM, after their reset, gonna be able to easily set up for Herald, much easier than C9. Yeah, good engage from Sven, killing Sneaky. Yeah, cleanse on Sneaky actually would have been really nice. Cleanse versus Beer, cleanse versus Sven, cleanse versus even Broken Blade. These kind of fights are so tight. So by tight, I mean it can go any way. By tight, what I mean is the fight can go any way. So close. Broken Blade and Bjerg both looking for pokes and catches. Broken Blade forcing Sven's flash. Acadian going into Sneaky there. Oh, that was a last judgment making. Acadian gets chunked. Gets healed a little, Sneaky right here, and he goes in for Sneaky, and Galio ults, and Sneaky still has all his defensive tools and still flash. Which is really bad for Acadian to get impatient and actually engage on Sneaky there, where they could have kept poking and they could have kept maintaining a good situation. Oh, it's been almost getting that kill on Licorice. Not quite though. This is what I mean though. Like in that fight, C9 was really patient about maintaining their range and not directly coming into the team fight and waiting for TSM to make a mistake. Also, with good reset and catching Nico off the flank, C9 is able to get Dragon. These like small mid-game situations where C9 is able to play it so patiently and wait really qualify C9 as a team. And it is really what makes C9 C9. It's a really difficult situation to be in where you don't have priority and you're getting poked out, and still to be able to play patient and take the right kind of team fight, and C9 is really good at it. So they start on Acadian, chunk Acadian backs on the right side, Broken Blade handles two people on the other side, and Acadian going in, like coming back in at the end with his body slam was a big mistake. I'm not sure how this fight started, but it started with Cassio looping around and getting a catch on Broken Blade and Broken Blade dying. Really tight game nonetheless. Sven scaring, getting a flank. This is what I mean though. It's so hard to play Kindred and Galio together. I think this game was much easier for C9 if they just put Galio. Like Kindred flanks and Galio ults to Kindred, but it's such an awkward ult. I would have much rather, like if it's Jarvan, it's so much easier for Kindred or Jarvan to go on top of the Varus or top of the Zoe. Can't Galio just ult Kindred? When Kindred ults to get the big knock up after Kindred ult wears off though, that's so situational. Like, compared to let's say Jarvan Galio, it's like you can do it anytime. You can do it anytime, and it's an engage that's on to you, and that's always good in your situation. Like, let me try to explain it. So, Kindred Galio, the situation that you explained, can't Galio just ult Kindred when Kindred ult is running out? Is so that situation's only good when you're getting Dobon when you're in a defensive situation and the enemy team is coming into you and Kindred ults and Galio ults on top of that. So that's a very specific situation where Galio Jarvan is, you can choose to engage anytime and you can choose to recreate that play anytime, and it's much more easier for that situation to be created versus Kindred ult and then Galio ult on top. It's a very like a situational defensive way of playing out those two ults. Now when it gets into Baron setup, this is where I think it's going to be really, really hard for C9 to play the situation out. TSM has so much poke tools and good engage also. So C9 has to play this situation really well. As for TSM, if they can get one crucial catch, they can just start Baron, get Baron, and then really start ending the game. Why did they build two Morellos so early second item? Or sorry. Well, actually, the super important point in the game. Let's watch this. So TSM starting Baron. So this is a huge problem. When Baron is at 10k and Licorice starts teleporting so close to Baron, it allows TSM to just turn. Oh my god, this is actually so bad. He could have waited with his teleport or teleport somewhere else. This is actually a really big mistake for Licorice to teleport when Baron's already at 10k. And then yeah, now TSM's just able to wreck rest of C9 members coming in, and Broken Blade got a great flank from the other angle. Oh man. They don't have vision of Pit, but they should also know TSM couldn't have been on Baron for a very long time. Yeah, Victor gets picked off too, so C9 lose 4 members here. They're down 6k, and now it's TSM's game to win. Wow, a really great flank from Broken Blade. Really great flank from Broken Blade, and also Licorice making a mistake allowed TSM to get Baron, and now they should be getting multiple inhibs off of this. They're pushing 2 lanes, mid and bottom, which is what they need to do. Good job on their part. They also need to be careful of the jungle and C9 actually flanking. Catch on sneaky also. Oh man, that's gonna mean they get a lot of things here. It should at least mean they get a lot of things here. Broken Blade caught out here, 2v1 situation, he dies. TSM able to get bottom inhib, trying to end the game off of bot side. Gets even one Nexus turret. Now the game is TSM's to lose. They're in so much control. Bjerg is so strong. Varus is so strong. Long as they stay grouped and they don't allow C9 to really flank them, it's really hard for C9 to win this game. Because their form of, they don't really have real forms of engage. The only way they can play this out is with a flank. TSM doesn't need to force a fight. What TSM wants to do is they want to poke and get inhibitors. Right now it's hard for TSM to get an inhibitor because they don't have Baron, so they want to play it slow and maybe wait for next Baron or even wait for next Dragon. Don't you think TSM's lane assignment reduced how effective Baron was? In Maya with 4 mid and BB bot, they would have gotten a better push with BB having less angles where he could get ambushed from. Not necessarily. Mid inhibitor can be hard to get, and maybe they didn't want to get flanked from either angle on mid lane, so they wanted to put 4 bottom. Long as they were split pushing 2 lanes, I don't think it was that big of a problem. TSM just has to play a patient. Yeah, now they should play for next Baron. They should play for next Baron, get good pokes off on C9, and then start trying to play for that Baron and actually get that Baron and end the game with getting the final 2 inhibitors. Oh my god, that kill on Kindred. C9 has no way to engage. I think a lot of ways this game's realistically over for C9, and it's really hard for them to come back because they have to engage onto TSM, and long as TSM does a good job of constantly clearing out the vision and don't allow the flank to happen, C9 don't really have a shot at it. The only engage they have is Aatrox's teleport flank. Aatrox teleporting behind them and engaging, and Galio trying to ult off that. Anything else is not a real engage situation, and TSM also has good flank tools in Kench. They have good flank tools in Kench and Galio. So super interesting thing to note. Aatrox hiding here. He wants to do this loop around, or he wants to do this loop around as TSM moves here. So really, they were never ever trying to take Elder Dragon. That was not C9's goal. What their goal was to start Elder Drake and force TSM to come into them and flank. So I talked about how hard it was for C9 to actually get an engage and a good Aatrox flank, but they played really patiently to actually get this off. So Gragas comes in, actually gets Elder Drake, but Aatrox with a super great flank. He's on top of Smoothie and Zeben and Bjerg. So he's top of all 3, exactly where he wants to be. And now C9 can collapse this side, Acadian kind of out of position, Zeyzo out of position with Broken Blade, but that's really good for C9 for the support to be removed and for the top lane to be removed. And Zeyzo can always re-enter the fight with his ultimate. Yeah, flanking on this side. Niski able to kill 2 members, super crucial for them. Even though TSM gets Elder Drake and Baron, they only have buff on 3 people. So global gold, a little bit of increase due to them getting such big objectives, but they actually lose out a lot of their buffs on the important targets. Yeah. Oh my god, Aatrox coming in here. Giant knockups. Able to kill Bjergsen. Acadian dies also. Now coming in to finish the soft bot side because they have Baron. They have Baron on Nico and they have Baron on Varus. Oh my god, this positioning by Bjerg was actually so bad. Let's see how it happened. This is game losing play. No, Bjerg. So one thing that the caster pointed out that's super important here is C9 has every flash up. And TSM don't have flash up on Bjerg, Acadian, or Broken Blade. So Bjerg is jumping in from this spot to here to try to get a poke, which is really bad because it opens him up for engage really easily. And another thing that C9 does really well here is they have this pink vision ward here, right? This ward clears out any vision that's here, so Bjerg doesn't know who's here. So Bjergsen jumping in from this distance to poke was actually suicidal, especially when he didn't have flash, and also when Smoothie's right here. So it's a game losing play actually. And then C9 just cleans up after that Bjerg play. Don't you think Acadian should have been sitting on top of Bjerg to disengage knowing he has no flash? No, Bjerg should just not be going for that play. Bjerg going for that play was game losing. Bjerg going for that play was game losing. Because you have to consider the risk versus reward of that play. Bjerg gets a poke, or if Bjerg doesn't land a poke, then Bjerg what's the high point of getting that play? Bjerg lands a decent poke. What's the low? What happens if that shit is fucked up? Then Bjergsen dies, and that's a game losing play, and they lose their Baron push. So the high of that play would have been them landing a decent poke. The low of that play would have been them losing the game, and that's what we got, the low of that play. C9 made a lot of mistakes, but one thing they're incredibly good at is being patient and looking for the right fight. I think this comp was actually problematic with how little engage they had, but even with how little engage they had, they were still able to set up the correct engages with Aatrox flanks. It's just fucking incredible how patient they can be. I think that's not something a lot of the enemy teams can pull off.